Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my knife first and split the two wires. Be careful. Just down the center to separate them, to make things a little easier for reassembly later. So I'm just separating the two wires, right? You guys can see that hopefully. And then I'm going to use the side cutter. I'm going to leave plenty to reconnect to that device after. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to tape the positive and negative on here right now. So, you know, future, I know exactly what's what, etc., right? Overkill on the tape, but that's the way it is. Now I'll do the positive too, why not, or the negative I mean. And then we'll put that whole 120 piece thing aside, because I may not even use this again, who knows. But maybe you guys have some ideas of what I can use it for to my skill level. If I don't know what you're talking about, then obviously beyond my skill level. So that guy can go over here. I can put him back together in a later, that's no big deal. So this is split still a little bit, so I'm going to just pull the wires away from each other. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to label the wires now, because I will be obviously you know, going to be removing insulation off the outside. I'm going to be removing this white stuff off of the wire, so my little writing will disappear. So better to tape it so I'm labeled. And for future, and then I'll just label the black, remove some wire, and we'll see if I have any of that decent length of that 2-wire material. That I believe it was 18 gauge wire that I was using, and that's pretty much runs all my fans and lights, and it worked really well. And nothing was getting warm whatsoever, because I think the heavy gauge wire I ran to the bus bar kind of helped eliminate any drag on the power. So right here I'm going to hopefully carefully strip some insulation off of here. Oops, that's some tough insulation. But I'm really liking this workbench, guys. I can actually get some stuff done instead of worrying about the kitchen countertop all the time. And what I'm doing now that I stripped that insulation and got the copper exposed, I'm just grabbing the copper wire because it's frayed, a bunch of little pieces of wire all put together to make one, and I'm just twisting them manually together with my fingers. That way you have a nice strong connection and you don't have all these little pieces of wire going everywhere. You don't want to mess. So I'm going to do the same on the positive side. Just use the side cutters. I'm just kind of scoring the outside without cutting through, and then I drag the side cutters and they pull the insulation off, and then I just do my little twisty tie there again. So those are done. So that's ready to go. I can grab a connector now, since I do not have a soldering kit yet, but I'm planning on possibly getting one so I can do even more projects for you guys. I'll grab some solderless connections, and hopefully I can find some wire, right? So you guys remember these? I did the whole ceiling and most of my 12-volt wiring with this. So obviously you just want to wire it so that You know, everything's color coded, positive to positive, negative to negative. Make sure that's a nice tight connection. We go like this. There we go. So that's looking pretty good, guys. You just give it a little tug. Make sure the stuff stays the positive. I can push in maybe some more. That's good. So now from here, I need to run a wire, right? I need to run a wire all the way back to where I have some 12 volt power, which the closest spot is right behind the tool pantry, right there. You guys remember, because all my wiring is on that wall there behind the pantry. Now, one thing about the switch, it is not very long. So that's another thing to consider. So the switch runs into this thing. Or does it? What am I doing? Where did this switch go? Yeah, it must. I just had it in wrong. Okay, yeah, I had it backwards. So yeah, it does plug in to the thing I just wired up. So this controls the lighting via it's got its own switch here, right? So I'm not even gonna bother taking this switch apart. I'm just gonna have to use that length as is. So we're gonna have to figure this out in terms of how far I can get my light extended. But what I can do, just to show you guys quickly, pull this light switch back out, and I'll set the wiring back here a bit. Okay, so we have, this is the main that hooks into that little white connector where the switch just hooked up to. Now this thing, these are removable, but I can put extensions on and try to extend this thing as far as possible via just hooking them together like so. And then this thing is quite a long strip once all put together. As you can see, this thing goes pretty far, right? So that is pretty good. Though, something tells me I'm gonna have the light switch way up high because I want this light fairly centered back here in this room. You know, like you would. You'd want a decent amount of light back here. So I'm gonna have to figure something out. I may have to end up taking the switch apart, guys, just to see what I can do. I don't really want to, because there's, I'm guessing, more than 2 wires in here, considering it's a variable switch and there's a ton of options. So not really good. Not good. So we'll just put that aside for now. And what else? Wire. I'm gonna go look for wire to see how much wire and length I have to run this light, and then I'll wire it into the bus bar. And what the bus bar will do, guys, basically I'm just wondering if I don't hook this switch up to the LEDs, will it still run? Because I could literally run the wires off of one of the wall switches, and when I throw a light on in the living area, it could light up here as well without using that switch, and that would save me running a bunch of wire. So we'll figure it out. I'll be back in a bit, guys. I'm going to hunt down some wire, hopefully, and we'll see you later.